So a lesson I would say is we started with 6 global ambassadors at GetAccept. And then it really took off that people were starting to say like, wow, you're taking over like the LinkedIn feed, and we got a much wider reach within those 6, but it really took off when we invited everybody else in our company to do it. So yes, you need to test and try things, but the lesson here is like we started to really see success. And I think we took a little bit too long to say, you know what? Why don't we open this up to everybody voluntarily? Because it was so great, because we started to see employees posting things on their own and kind of like following that lead. And then we realized like everyone needs support to like come back in, rein it in. How did that post go? What else could you be doing? You know, are you reaching your target market? Like, what is your main concept that you're trying to do for your own personal brand too? And it's completely voluntary. So I definitely would say that was a lesson that we learned.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us on the Community-Led Growth Show today. I'm your host, Joel Premack. Today I'm joined by Tara Pawlak, Head of Marketing at GetAccept. Thank you so much for joining us today, Tara.
Thanks, Joel, for having me. I'm excited here.
Of course. Well, first up, please give all of our listeners a quick 30-second intro about yourself.
Sure. So yeah, Joel said I'm Tara Pawlak. I'm head of marketing here at GetAccept. And I like to say I am the intentional marketer by trade. I went to school for marketing, undergrad, MBA, and have held various roles throughout my career. But if I had to pick, I always say that the area that I love the most about marketing is strategy and operations. So yeah.
Awesome. That's so cool. I like that it's strategy and operations. I feel like that's like a segment that gets like under repped,
Yes.
but like is so critical. So I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, thanks. I focus a lot on demand gen. That's where I spent the majority of my career. But I think that all of the functions in marketing really come together through strategy and ops. And I think that's why it's my favorite. So yeah.
I like that, and I would 1,000% agree. So thank you for sharing that with me today. Now we're going to dive right into it. So what does community at GetAccept look like today?
Great question. Yeah. So community at GetAccept today is actually owned by a lot of us within the marketing org, as well as other areas such as like sales and NCS, and even up to like co-founders. So we like to look at it as we all have ownership over our community initiatives. And there might be a little bit of a different structure to have kind of like a decentralized, but it's for a really good reason. So GetAccept is a global company, and we have a lot of different growth markets and focus areas. And so community can look very different from, say, the United States to France. And so we want to make sure that the people that understand and serve those markets really lean into what the community needs within sales or the value that we can give. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's the same globally.
Awesome. I know you touched on it, that you all like to think of it as many people across the entire organization have responsibilities towards your community programs and strategies. But is there a single either person or handful of people that are responsible for the actual leading of specific initiatives within the decentralized approach you all are going with?
Yes. So for sure, I would say our marketing leadership team is. So that includes our brand and buzz manager, our head of content, partnerships, even the web, product marketing, and then our marketing leaders in all of the regions, because community is such a large initiative for us that's why we say everyone takes ownership, and it could never just from our end be one community manager, for example, because it really touches everybody, right? It's like, who are we trying to serve, and how can we help them is the way that we look at community, helping that individual sales leader or that individual sales operations manager in their career and them to excel. So it's really not so much about us, GetAccept, and what we're doing in the sales field, but really how can we help people who we believe that are the best in their field to continue to grow.
Awesome. So we're coming up kind of into the end of Q3 for many companies, heading into Q4 2022 right now. So what are you all thinking about and planning to work on as we start 2023 and planning for that fiscal year?
Yeah. So we actually have a lot of different initiatives that we would consider work in progress. And so that is more around our product usage and how we can help communicate to customers and prospects how this can better serve them at the end of the day. For example, if they reach certain milestones like within our product and helping highlight how other peers are using our product or what they're doing in their day-to-day that GetAccept has helped them, which sometimes necessarily isn't products as well. So like really trying to highlight our customers and give them pre-access to something. And then another initiative, oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say awesome. That sounds really cool. And I like that it's almost like a B2C type of experience where it's like really focused on the individual and their success, not just like how it then ties back to like GetAccept
Mhm.
always too.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end of the day, we're all humans, right? And everybody has their own goals and what they're trying to do for their company and themselves in their own personal, career initiative. So we try to look at it through that lens a lot. And another initiative that I'm super excited about, haven't really revealed it to anybody, but we are working on a certification type of learning program for many reasons. So GetAccept historically started as a sales-led organization, and we have a very large sales team. And we're lucky that our co-founders, a lot of them have background in sales, so that we're super, super passionate about helping revenue teams, right? And we have a really, really great sales training and enablement and development program that we do internally and went on this like road show over this year to really help develop our individual account executives. And we all got certified, even there was like a marketing end of it. So it was just like really, really interesting. It's, a lot of the different sales methodology and really some practical advice. So we said, why are we keeping this to ourselves? Why can't we just offer this value add that honestly doesn't really have anything to do with our product to other AEs or SDRs within the sales community. So that's something that we're working on behind the scenes to figure out how to launch and just add value from an everyday perspective.
Ooh, now I'm really excited. That's very exciting. And I think that it's definitely a great way to like add value and help build like that sense of community when especially then you like see the certification being shared on social and like people use it as like a point of validation in their career. So I think that that's awesome. Congrats to you all.
Thanks, absolutely. So yeah, it's a lot to think through, right? Because we built it internally and now it's very different when you're thinking of external. And I think it's really neat because we're not just doing it for customers. It can just be anybody within the sales community, but also thinking through like how is this one different, right? Because there's so many existing sales communities in each market. So it's like what can we bring to the table that really adds value that isn't out there? Like what is that all about? Kind of the hook in the the
For
learnings.
sure. No, but I think that that's like a key thing because as you mentioned, and I come from like a background in more go-to-market community management and experience. So I know this firsthand too. But I think that that's like a great question. If you figure out what that like point of view is, that's going to be different from everybody, or in a market that's maybe underserved too, then that's like your greatest opportunity. And you can really leverage that and focus on that for everything else that you're going to like drive through the education, through like the branding and packaging essentially of the certification program. So I'm excited to see it now. Like, I
Yeah.
hope I get to see this when it launches.
Oh, you're invited for sure.
Yes. Awesome.
Yeah, maybe we can give you a sneak peek and get some feedback.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Um, but now we're going to head back into the conversation around community and something that I'm curious. So, GetAccept has been around for a handful of years now, and I'm just curious about from a decentralized community building approach, what learnings have you all experienced thus far? Both, I guess, like the good and maybe like wish we did different ones too, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of our kind of core programs from a community standpoint is we launched a global ambassador program. And what that means is we picked out employees that in each of our regions are really our thought leaders that do things like this, go on podcasts and webinars and events, and helped guide their knowledge and sharing from their own niche. So, for example, mine is more centered around marketing and strategy, ops, demand generation. And not everybody is as comfortable as you would think posting on LinkedIn. We all get that little like anxious, oh, you hit post, how's it gonna like go with the algorithm? Like everybody, like if you admit it or not, that is happening in every single person's brain. So you need support from that area and you need to track it and see your results. And then really understand how that impacts the business too. So a lesson I would say is we started with 6 global ambassadors at GetAccept. And then it really took off that people were starting to say like, wow, you're taking over like the LinkedIn feed, and we got a much wider reach within those 6, but it really took off when we invited everybody else in our company to do it. So yes, you need to test and try things, but the lesson here is like we started to really see success. And I think we took a little bit too long to say, you know what? Why don't we open this up to everybody voluntarily? Because it was so great, because we started to see employees posting things on their own and kind of like following that lead. And then we realized like everyone needs support to like come back in, rein it in. How did that post go? What else could you be doing? Are you reaching your target market? Like, what is your main concept that you're trying to do for your own personal brand too? And it's completely voluntary. So I definitely would say that was a lesson that we learned, but a very positive lesson. It was just more of once you have something that's very successful and you think you can replicate it, like go for it.
For sure. And I think that that's such a unique experience and kind of like one to share with us because it's tying in almost an element of like a little employer branding in there with some personal branding, with then also like just GetAccept and like thinking about how it fits to like your business and like what you own within your role in the company, but then also how it then ties back up into your larger community programs and strategy. So thank you so much for sharing that unique one with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most important part is supporting employees for their own personal goals. So nowhere in the program is it like you have to post about GetAccept. Like we could just have people posting all day, every day, every week, every month, just about their own passion. If it's sales, if it's marketing, if it's community or customer success, and we call that a win. So it's like the own individual just feels supported for their own area that they want to own and provide back to the larger community.
Very nice. And I would definitely agree that that's probably a good way to go about that.
Yeah.
So now I'm really curious and excited to hear you talk about this because we've mentioned now that GetAccept has a decentralized community building approach and strategy. So therefore, I would love to hear how you all, especially in marketing, show the ROI of your community programs.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say, you know, we come up with goals and the reason why we're doing everything. And I would say we spend a lot of time on that before we launch something. It's super important. So we have a long list of things that we consider work in progress because we want to make sure that we're doing it right. And especially in startup world, there's so many things you can do, right? Like every day, all day, there's a million new ideas, which is fabulous. But you need to come back to focus. So for us, we kind of go back to that original why, what value does it add? And then does this tie into one of our key objectives for the company, for the team, and then develop it from there. So, for example, the Global Ambassador Program, we didn't just launch this and say, okay, we'll see how this goes, right? We had very specific goals to say, okay, we want Tara to reach, a certain level of impressions each month with her posts. We want to make sure that she is connected to the personas that she wants. Say it's sales leaders, marketing leaders within these targeted accounts. And so you have this path that you can check in almost weekly against those goals. And since we're able to use tools that kind of show us how that LinkedIn individual personal brand is actually helping fuel, you know, likes to GetAccept or comments or even traffic, we can track it all the way down to our funnel to say, oh, we actually got some deals created out of this, or we built a pipeline. I know some of our SDRs in Europe, he literally posts and we can track it that he created deals just from his LinkedIn activity. And so we take each program and say, like, ideally, we could do anything. This is what we would achieve. And we're very excited to have those big numbers and launch it with that and then kind of see how it goes and then create a baseline. I think that's like the hardest thing in marketing when you have this new initiative and you have to have goals. So you just like have to draw a line in the sand and go, this is our goal. You kind of don't know if you've never done it before. Is this realistic? Is this not realistic at all? How are we going to do? But I think the main part is just don't wait to launch it, iterate, and then it's okay to change your goals and say it's not realistic.
For sure. I'm a fan of like the approach of we're going to shoot for the stars, but if you fall, essentially, you're going to land on a cloud, and clouds are realistic. They're
Yeah.
just like something that we can see every day. So
Oh,
I'm fully supportive of, and that was a paraphrase quote from Kanye, old Kanye, feeling old Kanye songs now
love it.
for the
I love that
podcast.
idea. I never heard of that. Shoot for the stars and land on a cloud. I'm gonna steal
Hmm.
that. Yeah.
Paraphrasing.
Yep. That's how I look at when you build the goals that you've never done before.
I
So
like it. I think it's like a realistic, and it also supports like a human first approach too, because I think that at times you can set like a lofty goal, but if you don't allow space for people to say like, hey, this is how we're doing thus far against it, maybe it's just not realistic, or we have
mhm.
to figure out like how we go from V1 right now to then achieve that in V2. Like, do
Yep.
we need to do different ads? We need to do different creative, like, are we on the wrong channel? What new things can we do to hit it?
Yeah.
But I think that it helps being a human first type of like leadership. I almost want to call it like approach or style, if
Hmm.
that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense because like at the end of the day, most marketing leaders own a revenue number, or in my opinion, should. So
Mhm.
you tend to want to put, like pipeline and ARR on everything that you do. But when you're starting a new community program, that's probably not realistic. So you need to start super high level of maybe that's level of engagement or number of touch points and like track where you're at to how do you continuously improve that to eventually get there.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Do you want deals created? Like we all want that, but
Yeah,
putting that up there for your teams would just be like super demotivating when you're like, hey, we're going to try this new program and we expect this like hard and fast number that it's going to, impact our quarterly goals from that perspective. But it's like you will get there as long as you iterate and take a look and analyze it to improve.
for sure. And I think that that's also a good point that you just mentioned is around like the analyzing and tooling too. Sometimes your V1 isn't always going to be fully supported from like a tooling perspective. So sometimes you need those like non-ARR and pipeline focus numbers that might be more brand centric. But with that brand centric data, you can say like, hey, we're really curious and we want to explore this in V2. Are there tools that can support this to allow us to get more of a full 360-degree view around this initiative, like your ambassador program, as you mentioned?
Yeah, no, it makes total sense, especially from a brand perspective. So a lot of this stuff is done, in like the dark social worlds. And then we get into attribution that's really like hard to follow. But then you can also just pull out what you consider your key metrics for, your brand awareness. Is it increase new visitors to your website because they're, Googling your brand? Like things like that you should be tracking and then understanding like, okay, what we're doing in these other areas that are just pure brand plays that aren't really trying to like drive demand just yet are actually working because of that.
For sure. That's awesome to hear more about it. Thank you so much for sharing it.
Yeah, of course.
Last question to wrap up our conversation for the day. What are the three community trends in B2B SaaS that you're most excited for and watching for in 2023 and beyond?
Yes, I love this question. I'm a big fan of when I used to create a lot of content is like the year-end predictions and like wrap-ups and reports. I think I'm
Mhm.
just a marketing geek at heart, but
Nope. I
like
want all these things too. So,
yeah. So the three predictions in community. So first, I believe you'll see more creative concepts around making the individual the hero of the story. And that can be done in many fashions, right? The second, I would say more micro events. We started to see them really emerge this year, I would say. There's been, the big events have come back, definitely. But what I find interesting is the more events about like VIP dinners or getting together very specific functional areas of, 30 sales operation managers meeting in New York City, for example. So I think that's a trend that historically we never had. It was more like, okay, everybody in sales and marketing is going to this larger conference. And then you kind of go look for your peers and people in the same role, where now it's kind of shifting to like very role specific events, which I fully enjoy because then at that point, you're really bringing people who have the almost the exact same challenges and concerns and career development and education and learnings together, and it's just easier for them to like network and learn. And then I think the third and last trend I would say is more brands looking to link arms with each other, and I've seen this in a lot of the communities as well. So it's each brand is like, let's build our own community, right? Like this is like for us. And usually that, that happens at like the executive level, the management level, because you're always thinking about your business goals first and foremost. Where I'm starting to see a turn with brands who are saying, hey, these three other brands, serve the same market. We can all link arms together and do something even better. Where historically it was like, nope, we're doing this on our own. This is our community. This is our portal, our event, where brands are really being open to say, hey, let's collab together. And we know we're going to make something better for, for our vision and our purpose.
I love those. I'm very excited now for brand collaborations. That would be epic. And I think, especially around your point too, for the mini events, especially when you start bringing in like persona specific people together too, I think then also if there's an element of like learning involved, then it can also be an incredibly more tailored experience because you're not trying to talk about something that's applicable to people across sales, sales ops, sales enablement, and marketing potentially. You can actually focus exclusively on a persona, go super deep, and make it exceptionally tactical to where it's something then that's like incredibly value add in conjunction with, of course, like the in-person networking and connection that people are also able to build. So that's awesome. Oh, I want all of these to come true. I'm
Me
so
too.
excited.
Yeah,
Awesome.
agree.
Well, Tara, again, thank you so much for being on the Community Led Growth Show today. If people want to follow or connect with you after listening or watching the episode, what are the best channels and or handles for them to use?
By far, LinkedIn. That is my that is my social media channel of choice. But of course, you can also go to getaccept.com and check us out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you.